are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is John Magyar with Orange Blade Consultants. I want to thank everybody for taking time to join us today on the afternoon, and I see that we may have some people who are here in the morning, so good morning to you. As far as what we're going to cover here, we're going to look at a lot of the basic functions of Bluebeam Revu, and we're also going to look at some of the new features that were introduced in Revu 11. So brand new features that are a month and a half old. So anybody that's currently using Revu, you'll see what's in the latest version. Once again, my name is John Magyar. I'm a subject matter expert with Orange Blade Consultants here in Arizona. I draw on 14 years of industry experience where we help AEC firms, home builders, government clients, lots of mom and pop shops develop digital workflows. Previously, I was in the Autodesk reseller channel, and I'm currently an Autodesk Developer Network member. Orange Blade Consultants is. We specialize in project collaboration and paperless business processes. We're also a Platinum Bluebeam reseller, one of three. We were founded in 2006 as an Autodesk authorized consultancy and a Bluebeam reseller. We've been delivering comprehensive software development, sales, and training services ever since. We serve businesses large and small across North America and around the world. So with that said, I'm going to hand over to Stuart Thumuto with Bluebeam. Stuart?
Great. Thanks, John. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, everyone, on this webinar with Bluebeam. I am going to be presenting a little bit about Bluebeam Revu, our flagship desktop PDF collaboration product, as well as highlight some of the new features in Revu 11. Just to touch upon who I am, I'm actually an architect by training. I've got about 9 years experience working most recently with the Gensler folks here in Los Angeles in the Aviation and Transportation Studio. In addition to airports and transportation facilities, I've also got some work with healthcare, hospitality, and commercial building design, as well as construction administration. So I'm pretty keen on any of the workflows you might be experiencing today in your projects, and more than happy to help answer questions as time allows. With that, GoToMeeting will be able to, you should be able to see my screen via GoToMeeting. And there's also a question window on the right panel there of GoToMeeting. Should you have any questions, feel free to type them in as we're going along. I will make sure to leave time at the end to address these questions. And if in the event we don't get to your question during our webinar period, we'll follow up with email afterwards. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into Revu. All right, awesome. So there's my contact information here at Bluebeam, and I also have John's contact information right there, but I will be sure to show it at the end as well. This is a PDF, believe it or not. If I tap my escape key, you can actually see the PDF content itself. So you can also use your PDF presentations in Bluebeam Revu to show to your clients, or for those coordination meetings to full screen your PDFs and show the information live. So let's talk a little bit about Revu. This is Revu 11, as I mentioned. We utilize the command bar at the top. As you're probably familiar with, a lot of applications these days have a ribbon or a command bar, as we call it here at Bluebeam. One of the things you'll notice is as you click on the different tabs, the new icons appear in this segment here. The first 7 icons are going to remain static, so you always have access to them. We like to say the Revu is customizable in a lot of different ways. One of the ways is the interface. The interface is driven by something we call profiles. If I click on the View tab and use the down arrow next to this little profile guy, the guy in the white bow tie, you'll see I'm currently in the simple profile. If I switch over to one of the other profiles that are available to me when I first install Bluebeam Revu, I can do that. Or I can even create a custom one, which I've created here, called the AEC profile. You notice whenever you switch to one of those profiles, the interface will change a little bit. In this case, I have toolbars shown, as you can see here. And I can even add additional toolbars just by right-clicking into that dark space next to existing toolbars. This context menu, when you right-click, will show you what other toolbars are available. So let's say I want to see my alignment tools. You'll see that toolbar will show up right here. and I can move that around however I best need it to. I also have markup tools on the right margin here that you'll see as I'm hovering over to get to my markups immediately. Now all the markups can also be found through the command bar. If I click on markup, I can go to line and polyline to find those types of shapes. We always have a bunch of different ways to get to your tools. So if you're an icon-minded person and you like the icons like the toolbars, the buttons, you can have that method. If you like the command bar, you can have that method as I just highlighted. Or we also have keyboard shortcuts. If you like having your left hand on the keyboard and right hand on the mouse, just like we do in AutoCAD for quick, efficient drafting, you can also use that same workflow in Bluebeam. Other thing you can notice here is if there's a tool you really like that might be drilled down a little bit further, for example, the lasso. I'm just going to go ahead and find that lasso, and I can use this little thumbtack, a little push pin, and I can actually pin it to one of my existing toolbars, or I can customize it to a new toolbar. So this is going to be Stu's favorites, and right then and there I just created my very own favorites toolbar right here that includes my lasso on the toolbar. Other thing you notice about the interface is it has these panels. On the right side, I've got a little blue pull tab. On the left side, I've got another tab. And on the bottom, I've got another tab. These panels, if you click and drag them out, reveal information and can be closed to hide that information. All these panels can be found either by opening the panel and searching around through the different tabs, or I like to go straight to them. So I go to use tab access. That's this little orange icon that will be in the command bar at all times. So let's go ahead and look at some files. I'm going to go right into file access. File access is just a fancy way for saying I need to open some files. File access allows you to see a list of recents. Recents, if you hover over them, will give you a nice little thumbnail preview. It also allows you to remember the location of those files should you need to refer back to them often. For example, if I want to have a concrete specification and I want to remember it for future use, these recents do clear out, but I want to keep it. So I want to say pin the file, and you notice when I pin that file, not only does the concrete file go up to my pinned category in the file access, but also the root folder does. So I don't need to pin every single one of my specs in this particular job. I can just pin one of them, and now the spec folder will be there so I can get access to all the specifications very quickly. This was actually a suggestion from a customer that was finding it takes between 12 to 13 clicks to drill down into their folder structure just to get to the file to start work. So here we are trying to save a few clicks and make that easier for you to get to your files to get your work done. I'm going to go ahead and open up a couple documents here. And I've got that concrete spec you'll see in one of the tabs. I've got the drawing file up here as well. I've even got a sheet of revision here I'm going to open as well. And with that, I'm going to hide this panel here so I have a little more viewing real estate on my screen. What you'll notice is the files you have open are going to be shown in different tabs. And if you have so many files open and they extend off the right of the interface, you notice that there is also a pull-down that will allow you to select a file directly if you cannot find it because there's so many open. So let's go ahead and check out this drawing plan that I have set up here. Quick note, we were found, basically Bluebeam as a company spun out of an aerospace engineering firm. So a lot of the navigation you'll notice are very CAD-like because that's basically our ethos. That's where we come from. There was a need for high-quality, large format PDFs, and that's basically how we started back in 2002. So with that navigation-wise, when you have a large format PDF and you use your scroll wheel, you'll notice that the scroll wheel on your mouse will zoom in and zoom out. And also when you use your left mouse button, it will pan around the drawing just as you would assume it to. If you double-click your scroll wheel, you'll zoom extend and go back to the full PDF view. With the small format document, this one you can see if I look at the bottom right of the interface, it's an 8.5 by 11. When I use my mouse wheel, you'll see it's going to scroll through the pages. Now this is done on purpose. It's actually an intuitive step that we found customers requesting was that, hey, when I usually go to a small format document, I want to scroll through the multiple pages. But when I'm in a large format document, let's just go ahead and use those zoom controls. By default, Revu will recognize the page size and set that zoom control for you, but you can always override it by using the one full page or the scrolling pages mode in the bottom left of the interface. Let's say I want to refer to those concrete specs in addition to my drawing plan at the same time. Now I can switch back and forth just as I've done now through the tab navigation. Or what I'd really like to do is see both of them on my screen at the same time, just like I do on my desk. I have the specs open on one side and I have the set of plans open on the other side. To do that in Revu, you can use this feature called split screen. That's this icon on the bottom left of the interface. As I click that, I'm splitting my screen vertically. Then I can select my specifications on one screen and look at my plan on the right screen. This is super handy, again, to have those specifications available right here at your fingertips while you're looking at the plan itself. If you want to look at two revisions of the floor plan, let's say I have my revision 1 next to my issue for construction set, and I can look at one area of the PDF, and I want to look at that same area on the other PDF. Well, one feature in Revu allows you to do this, and it's called Sync. Sync is a button here at the bottom of the interface, bottom right. When I turn on Sync, wherever I navigate on one PDF, it's going to take me to that exact same location on the PDF that is currently split up right now. So as I pan around manually on the right screen, you'll notice that left screen is following me exactly in the same coordinates of that PDF. Super handy for doing a quick visual overview of two different revisions to see perhaps what changed between the two documents. You can split vertically as I've done here. You can also split horizontally to get even more views. You can even right-click and create a new web tab. So Revu not only reads PDFs, but you can also do some light web browsing in the web tab here. I have the ability to import my favorites. I can even look up some product supply information and go right into some sort of a specification or get an image from a supplier and work with my PDFs, all within the same interface. These windows can also be detached or undocked to be spread out on different monitors. If you have dual monitors, you might want to undock some of these and put them on your second monitor. When you're finished with the split view, there's a blue X in the top right corner. You can use that. You can also use the unsplit screen in the bottom left of the interface to unsplit the view and get back to that one page view you had before. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right into making some markups. So with Design Revu and being able to coordinate on drawings, we have the need to get out that red pen and make some notes on a PDF or on a piece of paper. So the PDF world, we simulate that same workflow. You have your tools here on the right side. I've got clouds, I've got shapes, I've got callouts, I've even got text box, highlighters, pens, all here on the right margin. But let's go ahead and draw a cloud. And cloud part of this curtain wall. I'm also going to select a callout, and I'm going to make a note here that says change mullion design. And I can even drop in an image. So there's a little icon here that looks like a stamp with a tree and a sun, I think it is. I can click on that insert image icon, and now I can go ahead and browse for an image, whether it's an image from the internet or perhaps a site photograph I want to put right on the PDF. I can do that. Go ahead and drop that right here on the PDF, just like that. Now, I very quickly marked this up and shown how you can do that in just a couple clicks of a button. But I want to do a little bit better than that. These markups all have appearance properties that you can design and change on the fly. For example, when I select the cloud, I can go to my appearance toolbar, and instead of red, let's say I want to make this a dark blue. And then the paint bucket allows me to change the fill color. And the transparency slide let me select the opacity of that markup, of that fill. I even have the ability to add patch to that fill pattern. So let's say I've customized those properties of that cloud. Looks good. What if I've got other clouds? If I drop a few more here on the plan, I've got other clouds on the plan that I want to make sure get the same note. You can even draw shapes. They don't have to be rectangular clouds. What if I want those same properties that I just selected for this cloud to be applied to those? Well, new to Review 11, we've got this really cool tool under Edits called the Format Painter. So if anyone's used to AutoCAD MA or Match Properties, this does a very similar effect where you can actually match those properties from one markup to the next. Very cool. Same thing with your callout. I can modify these properties manually by going through the Appearance toolbar. I can also do another way. If I go to Tab Access and open up the Properties panel, you'll see it shows me all the properties related to that markup. So I can change the line color, I can change the fill color, I can even change the text color down below to black. I can add a little fill opacity. Let's say I want to be at about 50%, and so forth. You'll also notice that there's a subject and an author metadata associated with this markup. What that means is I have a couple of fields that I can sort by later by this metadata, or these little tags. So the subject for this particular markup is a generic callout. You know, that makes sense. If I click the cloud, you'll see the subject is cloud. And with image, yep, the subject is going to be a generic image. What if I know that all these comments are related to architectural comments and I want them to be categorized as such, or assign a subject to be architectural? Well, I'd like to change all those properties in one fell swoop. So how do I do that? Well, I get my lasso tool. I tell you, this one, I love this lasso tool. Shift-O like Oscar, if you're a keyboard shortcut guy. Grab that lasso tool, and you just circle up and round up those markups just like that, and you can select them all very quickly. Now I can write the subject of architectural. And just like that, I've changed that subject property of every one of those markups in one nice swoop. Super easy, and it'll be super helpful for me in tracking those markups later down the road. The other thing is, now that I've created these, I want to go, let's say, mark up a new drawing. Well, I want to use those same markups that I created here and customize. It's going to spend a few moments to do that. That's where the tool chest comes into play. If I go to the Tab Access and then go to Tool Chest, you'll notice the tool chest is keeping track of these markups that I've created. So let's see if I want to use that cloud again. I just grab the cloud, circle the area I want to see, and there you go. The cloud with all the same properties have come to light. The callout, same thing. I can do an exact carbon copy of that callout based on my recent tools, or if I double-click the markup, I can change it to what's called Properties mode, which will regain the properties or retain the properties, but allow me to insert new text. So need, let's say, detail. You'll notice that as I was typing here, any spelling errors and my typos will be squiggled with an underline, and I can right-click and hopefully get me close. No, didn't get me close. There we go. When it's corrected, I can update that. So there's a bit of a spell check also built in there. These recent tools, they will clear out, but there is a way to save them. All you have to do is drag and drop them into My Tools. So right here, I'm just going to drag drop these into My Tools, and you see I've got my call out and my cloud right here in My Tools. You also notice that My Tools will be saved on your computer for your use whenever you close or open Review and work on other projects. But if you'd like to share this information with other people on your project team, in your office, or across multiple offices, you can create custom tool sets. These tool sets you'll see I've created here have been color coordinated. I've got an architect's tool set, I've got a mechanical tool set, and I've got a plumbing tool set. These can be easily deployed just by hitting export at that cogwheel of the tool set, and saved in a network location for other team members to install just by double-clicking. Or you can email them to your project team members that might be in other offices or other consultants so that they can use that same color system so you can quickly see who made what comment. Speaking of collaboration, let's take a look at the markups list, how we can track these markups and collaborate with other people on our project team. The markups list is this panel at the bottom. This panel at the bottom includes a record for you of all the markups that you've made on the PDF. If I click on a markup, you see it's highlighted for me in the markups list. If I click on a markup in the markups list, it will jump to that location on the PDF. So you can see the two are interconnected. One is connected to the other. As I click through each one of these markups in the markups list, you'll see again it jumps to that location. I can quickly review what that markup says. You'll notice in the markups list I have multiple columns. I can drag and drop these columns to new locations. I can even turn on and off new columns based on my visibility. Think of it as a little spreadsheet that's keeping track of all your list of markups automatically for you. You don't have to mark up a drawing and then keep an Excel table independently. Revu is doing that work for you. Super easy. But what if you've got other people on your project team that you want to begin to include their markups on this PDF? So let's say I have this floor plan and I sent it out to my consultant in Arizona. That's my plumbing consultant, and I have another consultant that does electrical work up in the Pacific Northwest, and I want to get all their comments back. You know, FedEx can be pretty expensive sending those plans back and forth. If we use the PDF and they mark up the PDF, we can send an email back just in a quick moment. Once I get those PDFs back from these consultants, what I want to do is include all their markups into one sheet so that I can see all the comments in concert of each other. To do that, I click on the Import Comments button. That's this blue cylinder with the green down triangle. And when I click that, Revu prompts me for a location to select those PDFs. So these are the PDFs that I've gotten back from those consultants. They've renamed them with their comments next to it. But they're nothing but more than just a PDF file with markups. When I select Open, Revu is smart enough to bring in just those markups when I've chosen the Import Markups command and not the whole PDF itself. So this way I can actually see everyone's markups together on the page without having to go through multiple different files. So as I'm clicking through here, I can go through all the different electrical items and see what they are referring to. You'll also notice that I've got, in addition to electrical, I've got mechanical and plumbing comments here at the bottom as well. I'd like to kind of sort and filter this table down here to more manageable chunks or more bite-sized pieces. So I'm actually going to adjust this here. I'm going to turn off the color column, and I'm actually going to turn on the filter button here in the markups list. The filter button allows me to just filter out one specific subject or perhaps multiple. This is where that customization of that color or that subject name really helps out in the metadata, so we can really use that to leverage to just focus in on one discipline, let's say. So now I focus in on electrical, and as I zoom out a little bit, you'll see that all the other markups are grayed out, and only the electrical comments are in their full color. That allows me to just focus on the electrical comments for this review. I can set a status just by double-clicking a status in any of these markups. And you notice when I change the status to the markup itself, it gives me a running total, a running list of all the status changes, as well as the person who made that change, the date and time at which they made it. So you get a running list, a full record of all that instead of it just changing on itself. I've also created a custom responsibility column here on the right. Now, customizing columns can be done in the gear wheel next to columns. And you have the tab here called Custom Columns, which allows you to make a responsibility column. I've done this in advance to kind of save time here, but I do want to mention it to show how you can add a list of choices in a custom column to begin to delegate responsibility to each one of these markups. How does that work? Well, as I select the markup, I can double-click inside the custom column that I've created called responsibility and start creating. Robbie McCann has started creating responsibilities for individuals. Again, I can go through and select Robbie McCann. And I want Callaway to also take a look at some of these items as I'm going through. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm essentially assigning responsibility in this PDF to all those markups instead of having them figure it out. Now, I've got the ability to sort by responsibility as well as the subject of electrical. I can even take it another step further and just filter out items for Robbie McCann. So you'll notice that everything on the PDF has been grayed out except for items that are designated for Robbie McCann. The next logical step would be to get this list to Robbie so he knows what he's going to work on for the day or for the week. I'm going to open up my thumbnails tab on the left here so you can see the next step I'm going to demonstrate, and that's the summary. Review allows you to summarize all items in the markups list in a couple different ways. CSV and XML can be exported to be viewed in Microsoft Excel for further tabulations. They can also be sorted as a PDF summary. PDF summary is awesome, and I'm going to show you why. I'm going to go ahead and select all these by default, and this list that I'm creating is a list for Robbie McCann, and we're going to call this a task list. This is an item that I want Robbie to take care of this day, this week, whatever, and I select OK. Review is now going to create a markup summary for me and a nice list here. So look, it's done. It's now showing me a little thumbnail preview of that markup and the surrounding area. It's giving me all the columns that I had shown in the markups list here in the summary as well. Now, each one of these markups, as I zoom in a little bit, actually are a preview, but they're also a hyperlink. As you see, my cursor changes from just a panning hand to the hyperlink finger. If I click on this, you'll see it's going to jump me to that exact location of that markup on the overall plan so I can see it in context of the rest of the floor plan. Same thing with all the items in this summary. You'll notice that this markup here says AV wall, but I have no idea what room it's in or what AV wall they're talking about. But if I click on the hyperlink, it'll take me right to that markup, and you'll see it's in Classroom 106 that I can quickly see, okay, and I can modify my CAD drawings or make a response to this comment just in the PDF itself. Great thing about this summary as well, if you're in the construction field and you have to create, let's say, an inspections list or a punch list that you need to then send out to your subconsultants or subcontractors, this list is nothing more than a PDF. This PDF can be viewed in Revu or other PDF viewers like Reader. These hyperlinks will also still work in those other PDF applications. It's all based on that PDF standard. Awesome. So we've talked a little bit about the interface, about Revu, how to navigate around our drawings. We've made a few markups and shown how we can also import other people's markups, sort and filter the markups list to get to the information we need to begin to sort and navigate. And finally, how to create a nice summary, which either in PDF form or we can export it out to Excel form as well. This method I just showed was great for when you have PDF that you're sending around and you want to then have a gatekeeper import all those comments to view them all on one page. The other method that we have for complete collaboration on the PDF is called Bluebeam Studio. Bluebeam Studio is the blue house. It's one of the 7 icons you see in the command bar. And what happens when you select that is you'll be opening the panel in the interface that shows your studio panel. Let's start with Studio Sessions. Studio Sessions allow for multiple people to collaborate on the same PDF. Basically, that means that you have a set of plans, you upload them to the secure Bluebeam hosted cloud server, and then invite attendees to mark up that PDF. In a lot of ways, it's like GoToMeeting, like we're doing here, where you can see the same screen at the same time. It's a little different because we're basing everything on the PDF, and you don't all have to be connected at the same time like we are today. You can come and leave freely as you want. Perhaps you're working with a team, international team. Some people are in different time zones, and they need access to the files at different times than you do. This could be an opportunity for that as well. In sessions, I've created a session. It's free to use Bluebeam Studio. All you have to do is create a username with your email address and password, and then you can go right in. To start a new session, just click on Start, New Session, and that will allow you to name the session, add PDF files by using the Add button, and set some of the permissions here. That is permissions to save the file, print the file, mark up the file, or add other documents. You also have the ability to restrict attendees by their email address. I leave this unchecked so that all my consultants can just jump right in there. If it's of a secure nature and you don't want everyone in there, go ahead and check that box, and only the people that you add on the next page right here by adding their email address will be allowed to enter that session. You can modify those permissions on the fly if you need to, but that's the gist. I'd like to also clue you into this note here at the bottom. A session is limited to 500 attendees. Now, we say there is a limit, but if you can get more than 500 attendees, we need to talk. I'd love to shake your hand because I have never seen that many people commit to one thing at any given time. So let us know if you hit that 500 limit. You can have an unlimited number of sessions, too. You're not limited to just one session or two. You can have as many sessions as your heart desires. I've created one here called the Progress Review, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into that session. When I double-click into that session, you'll see I get the session properties. Here I've got the unique studio identifier. That's the Progress Review 9-digit code. I've also got attendees. You can see my name is Stuart Tamuto. I'm here, as well as A. Harris has also attended this session. I see the documents that include looks like a specification for metal framing, as well as a floor plan of a 201. Review is asking me to see the Layers tab at this time. I don't need to see the Layers tab review. Thank you. I can switch between the two different documents, and you'll notice when I have them open, they open just like they did with the regular PDF in the tab navigation. They also have a little blue house to signify that they are in a studio session. Finally, in the studio panel, you get a third section, which is called the record. The record keeps track of every single activity that happens during that session. I've uploaded this PDF with a lot of different markups. Let's go ahead and make a few more. I'm going to go back to my tool chest that I created and go ahead and grab the Architect's Cloud, and I'm going to cloud this door right there. I'm also going to make a call out and say move door location. I'm actually going to add a second leader to this call out by right-clicking and going to Add Leader and draw where I want that door location to go. You'll notice that as I'm making markups, the record is adding my markups to the record, but it's also adding them to the markups list. So even though we're in Studio, which is this cloud collaboration bit, we all have the same core functionality of the markup tracking as well as seeing markups in the PDF itself. Now, a couple things to note about Studio. When I'm the author of a markup, I can move those markups and modify them and change them. If I am not the author, like this markup here, the markups are locked. I cannot modify another person's markups in a studio session. That's done by design. For accountability reasons, if you are the architect and want to have the owner, let's say a couple of different subcontractors and maybe the general contractor in there, and everyone's making notes, you want to have complete accountability that no one can change anyone else's markups or anyone else's comments in that session. I mentioned before, people can be in the session at the same time, looking at this PDF and marking up at the same time, or they can do it at their own time. So if people prefer to mark up in the morning or the afternoon, they can do that. A session can be left open for a long time. The session doesn't expire. However, if there is no activity in a studio session after 45 days, the host, or the person who started the session, will get a note that says this session has been inactive. Would you like to renew it, or is it okay for us to close it? If you do nothing, the studio session will be closed, but if you jump back into that session, you can renew it. It just takes one person to jump into the session to restart that clock. We've had customers keeping sessions open for over a year. So it's as short as you need for, let's say, a quick conference call meeting, or you can keep it open to keep managing documents for many, many months. If someone is in the session at the same time with me, you'll notice there's a little footprint icon next to their name. I can click Follow Attendee, and my hands are up in the air now. You can't see it, but trust me, my hands are up in the air. I am now watching exactly what Allison is doing on the PDF. She can be making notes. She can be on the phone with me and showing me on the PDF the notes that she'd like to address. She could be out in the field on her iPad running a review for iPad, and I can see exactly what she's doing in the field, in the middle of nowhere, and I'm sitting in my nice, cozy office watching her and seeing what the issues are in the field. When I'm done following, I can just tap Escape, and I can go about my work just as I was before, marking up the PDF. Now, as the host, that's the person who gets to start the session and can invite all the attendees. You also get a couple extra features. The host can change the permissions. That's the session settings here. If I click on that, here are the permissions you can control. I can also set up user groups. So if I only want some attendees to have access to download or save the files, I can set up another user group and give them different properties than everyone in the entire group has. What if I want no one to be able to save the file or print the file? I can do that and only allow attendees to mark up. What if I set a timeline that says, hey, the next 2 weeks, please make your markups. After 2 weeks, we will be ending the session. Or better yet, I can just deny people from making any sort of markups after the time that I decide to do that. When you do that, no one will be able to do a markup, and you'll notice that you can just see other people's markups in the markup list here. One thing you can do, though, as a back check, is you can use that status column to begin to add a status for the progress of those markups. So if I'm the architect reviewing, or the engineer perhaps, reviewing the sprinkler room, I can set the status to pending. Now, when I set that status, I had actually had a pending status to change the color of the markup. So I can see quickly a pending markup will be red, and if they're set to completed, we get a green. It simulates that highlighter over the red markups we used to do. We're tracking the red lines with our drafters to make sure those things were picked up. Now we can do it in the PDF world while using cloud collaboration. The other thing the host is allowed to do is generate a report. That's this little button here on the right panel of Studio. I click on the report button, and I get a dialog that allows me to create a couple different types of report. One is the PDF package report. Let's say at 80%, I just want to take down a copy of the files to save them locally to see kind of a progress. Let's say this is 80%. I'm going to hit OK, and then select the location to save that. Let's go ahead and put it here on my desktop. For now, Revu is going out to the cloud, finding those documents, pulling all the markups, and saving them now on my desktop. I'm going to leave the session and close that panel so I can really just focus in on this local copy that I've downloaded. In this local copy, you can see I get a report and a folder. If I open the report includes not only the title as well as the date this report was created, but also gives everyone's email address who attended, the files that were in that session, and a line-by-line activity log of everything that happened in that studio session. These are also numbered for you as well as hyperlinked. So think of it as like meeting notes on steroids. If I want to see where this cloud was created by Stuart Samuto, I click on it. It'll take me to that location, from that studio session so I can see exactly where that cloud was made. Use my previous view button at the bottom to get back to that report and continue my browsing of the report from that studio session. A studio session, as I mentioned, that PDF package we downloaded has the report as well as the documents. The documents are neatly stored in a folder in a PDF package for you. These are saved from the cloud now locally, so you can save them on your computer or on your network drive for archiving purposes. So that's the core features of Revu, the markup, the tracking, and the studio features. I want to talk a little bit more about some new features we created here in version 11, specifically related to document organization. One of the things we noticed is when you're working on the design team, you often have files that you are, document control files you're trying to send out to multiple people on the project team. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and check out a set of files here. Let's open up this combined set of PDFs. So a couple different ways to work with your PDF drawings. One is obviously the individual files. The other way is having a multi-page PDF set, as you see here. I've got all my consultants' files all mashed together in one big set. They include the architecturals. They include some of the structural plans you'll see here. But the page label is not very consistent. The page label for this one says Sheet S 3.1 Foundation, something or other. I've also got some files towards the end that say, oh, this one says P101. That's pretty cool. That's like my plumbing drawing name, but the architecturals just have 1, 2, 3, 4. Not very consistent. I want all my drawings, the page labels that is, to reflect the drawing number on the title block. So new to Revu 11 is a super cool feature called AutoMark. I can't tell you how excited I was when I saw this. Choose AutoMark, which is here in the Thumbnails tab, and then select Page Region and say Get Rectangle. Once I get a rectangle on this title block, I'm basically telling Revu, hey, look here on the plan, rename all my page labels based on that number there on the PDF, and hit OK. Now, all those pages have been renumbered, or relabeled that is, with the actual number on the title block. And that took all of 3 seconds. I remember many late nights having to double-click in here and rename each and every one of these one by one. So hopefully this new feature with 11 will help save some time for you when you're trying to organize those drawing sets. This is the page labels in a multi-page PDF document, but the same concept also applies to bookmarks. If I select the Bookmarks tab and then select Create Bookmarks, I can create bookmarks just as we did with a page region, or I can just say, hey, pull the page labels over and make a bookmark for each one of the pages. Now I have a nice list, which is a bookmark for each and every sheet in this set. Pretty awesome. And I did that just in a matter of seconds. Now, as construction or as the design phase winds down and we go into more of a construction phase, we usually like to see these files, or what we typically see from our customers is these files get broken out into individual files. By that I mean one sheet per file. So to do that, I can just individually do a save as for each one of these, or I can right-click on my thumbnails and choose the Extract Pages option. Extract Pages allows me to extract each page as a separate file and can also rename my files using that page label that I just created. Super, super awesome. So let me see if I can open up the drive here where I'm going to save these files. And I'm going to actually create a nice little side-by-side view so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just going to empty that folder here. Let's go ahead and show these windows side by side. Awesome. Well, that didn't work. Let me resize my Revu pane here so you can see both my Windows Explorer as well as my review side by side. Now, as I right-click again and go to Extract Pages, I choose All Pages, extract them as separate files, and use that page label to name the files again. I don't want them to open after extraction, so I uncheck that, but if you want them all to open up, you'll see 35 individual sheets open up here in your interface. So I just hit OK, and now select that Extract Folder, and now you'll see on the left screen how all those files are quickly created in one fell swoop. So I've saved all that time of having to resave each one, doing a save as, and they're all consistently named as the page label exists. It's a super functional and really a lot of efficiency gained with that feature called the auto mark. We're creating the page labels and the bookmarks on the fly. A couple other things that we find hugely beneficial for comparing documents. We had mentioned before the ability to open up different revisions here. Let's open up these two. And we can split the screen and show, my revision next to my initial document, turn on sync, and then just manually page through the differences. Well, this is great, but what if I could have Review do it automatically for me? I'm going to go ahead and unsplit my screen and go up to Document and Comparison. And under the comparison, you see I have a couple choices here. One, Compare Documents, and the second one is Overlay Pages. Compare Documents will actually compare any differences between those two files for you automatically and call the differences. All you need to do is select your first file, Document A, select Document B, which I've selected as Revision 1, and then select OK. Review will then open those files, create a different file, cloud it automatically for you, split the screens, and turn on sync. And do that all before I can finish. It's super helpful. Look at this. Now, when I zoom in, I can see exactly the change. It looks like there was a couple of rooms added here, and the architect was kind enough to cloud it for me. Had it not been clouded, Review will still be able to draw that red cloud around it for me on the plan. These clouds are also in the PDF markups list, so if I choose the markups list, I can jump to that location on the file, and you can see, yep, the title block was updated, and I can see that is a difference. This can be done one file by one file, or we also have the ability to do a file batch compare documents. The batch compare is actually how I discovered Bluebeam software. We had a 1,400-page set for a terminal edition we were working on, and we were asked to create a addendum consolidation list after the bidding process was finishing and compare it back to the issue for construction set. Since there were changes, the client said, hey, why don't you just cloud all the updates for us that were made during the addenda process, and we want to see the difference. So we put together a plan to spend a couple weeks, borrow a few employees from another office, and do a page turn. And the client wanted it done faster and no additional cost involved. So we were scrambling, and thankfully a consultant had found Bluebeam software before and told us, hey, you should try this compare documents feature, and it worked great. We had been disciplined in creating all our pages out of Revit using the exact same PDF creation tools over and over. So this was an awesome way for us to then compare those files we had published directly from Revit. So compare documents can be done on an individual page basis. It can be done on a batch basis to find those differences. I'm going to go ahead and unsplit my screen and talk about the second method under document comparison, which is overlay pages. Overlay pages is a lot like the old school light table. If you've been in the industry for a while, remember the light table, that was a way to put files on top, put pages on top of each other and work on the coordination, the mechanical over the structural to see if there are any ductworks, ducts aligning with columns or beams, and how to remedy any of those conflicts. This brings back the light table in PDF world. So I just select my two documents here. I can select the color in which I want Review to colorize them. I can even align points. If I'm doing a sketch or a smaller page over an entire building plan, I can align points to make sure that sketch lines up to the actual grid lines that we've selected in the area. Once you're ready, hit OK, and Revu will colorize those plans and overlay them on top of each other. And you can see now I also have, if I open up my Layers tab, I also have two layers. The first layer is the green layer, which is A201. The second layer is the red layer, which is the revision one. When they're both on, anytime lines overlap, they turn into a nice dark brown or black color. I can manually go through and find any changes just by the color that pokes through. Here, with the same example, we can see that the revised area is shining through in red, showing that that is a revision in that second sheet. So a couple different ways to compare your documents in an automated fashion or with an overlay or a light table fashion. Either way, whatever you prefer. I'm going to go ahead and look over to our questions tab to see if we have any questions that I can address live. Again, if you have questions, please use that question panel in the GoToMeeting interface.
We had a couple of questions about Studio during the presentation earlier, mainly revolving around limiting or granting access to different abilities within a Studio session, and also how many people need to have a full copy of Revu. Is it everyone, or is it just the organizer?
Okay, great question. Yeah, so within the Studio environment, let's go back into that Studio session. And within the Studio environment, I can adjust those properties the permissions on a group level. So I can set one group to only have access to see markups in the session, or I can set another user group to have markup as well as print capabilities. So I set up a read-only group right here, which I'm going to have denied access to everything. And then the other group will have access to just markup only. So anything else here, we're going to give you properties or permissions to allow access. The read-only group just gets denied. So if you're in the read-only group, sorry, you get to see the session, but you can't do anything. If you're in the other group, you have default activities are markup and add documents. The other part of that question was, who needs to own Revu to be able to jump into one of these Studio sessions? Well, only one person who wants to host a session, that's the person who starts the session, has to own a registered copy of Bluebeam Revu. That person, in turn, can invite up to 500 attendees, but they don't need to own a registered copy of Revu. They will have to install either Bluebeam's free PDF viewer, View, or download a trial copy of Revu to their computer, and then they will be able to participate in a Studio session. So the important thing there to note is that users that are invited to a Studio session do not need to own a registered copy. They can just participate in that session as long as someone is the host.
One more question about permissions, and then a question about the batch comparison feature.
Okay.
So when setting up permissions in a Studio session, can you set the default so that any Studio session you have will always have those permissions, and can you set up permanent permissions?
Yeah, at this time, the default settings will all allow for everything. That is permissions to allow everything when you initiate a Studio session. However, we do have an option to take this technology behind your firewall. That is something that our large enterprise customers are interested in. Instead of sending their files out to the cloud, sometimes there are sensitive documents or government contracts that don't allow them to use the cloud at all, even though many of our daily tasks today do involve the cloud in some capacity. So for that, we offer the Bluebeam Studio technology to house behind your firewall, and the price is about $10,000 to house that behind your firewall, but it does allow you to have more control on those defaults as well as setting permissions for who has access to, obviously, behind your firewall only, or if you choose to allow people to VPN into your network, they can do that as well.
All right. And batch comparison. What sort of results do you get from the batch comparison? Does it generate a list of the changes?
Yeah, batch comparison will give you a different file for every single sheet. So as I open up my batch compare documents, I set up my first set A file. So it's going to be my issue for construction folder. I just select the folder here. I don't have a folder to show you at this moment, but I set up folder B, which will be my, let's say, my addendum consolidation. And when I hit OK, you will see that the set will create, let's say, A201 and A201 underscore difference. That will be the difference file. Every single one of the sheets will have an individual difference file for you, which then you can review on a page-by-page basis all the changes in that file. Any other questions you see there?
We've got one more question here, and then I think we'll wrap things up. But if you do have additional questions, you are, of course, free to contact John Magyar at Hornsblade, or you can contact our team here as well. The final question here is, does Revu accept Revit drawings?
Oh, great question. Now, the Revit native file format is RVT or RFA for the families. Revu does not open those files natively. Revu operates on the PDF file format. So one of the things you can do with our Revu CAD is have the ability to publish to PDF using the Bluebeam plugin. That allows for batch creation of PDF as well as 3D PDFs. We've actually got some really cool examples here of 3D PDFs that allow you to take those Revit models and perhaps you want to share them with someone else on the project team. You can actually export a 3D model. Again, this is nothing more than a .pdf file using the Bluebeam plugin for Revit. You can export that information and share it with other people on your project team, or even kick it over to the owner. Let the owner get involved in some of the 3D views that might be a little more difficult to explain in 2D plans. 3D PDFs also allow for markups as well. So you can actually mark up in 3D PDF. So revise square tube thickness to 0.7. There you go. When you're done marking up the PDF, you'll notice you can still view the model, and should you need to go back to any of those 3D markups, you just click on that blue markup indicator. It'll take you right back to that view so you can see it exactly as you were positioned when you made that markup. All right, so with that, I want to thank you all again for joining us for this webinar. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to John or myself. Our contact info is there. Thanks again, and we look forward to answering any questions you have moving forward. Thanks again.